And I call this public session to order. Number one, call to order approval of agenda. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the agenda from 10:24.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, number two, approval of consent agenda A, minutes from 10/24/25 meeting. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I move to approve the minutes.
Okay, second.
Didn't I just say that? Oh, that was agenda. Oh. Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving on to number three, the director's report. Doug?
Diving right in. All right.
Well, you're moving fast. All right, hang on.
We've got quite a few things on here. We'll warn you. All right. All good stuff. So staff has been extremely busy, as you can imagine, with budget, wrapping up audit. Everyone is in training. And I appreciate Dora and Leanne especially, because I know they've been putting in extra hours after work trying to get training done, and we're trying to get all of our accounting widgets moved over. And Leanne and I have had quite the lively week with debate on how that all will come together, and we're getting there.
I call it spirited.
I be spirited the other day.
So, but at any rate, I'll dive right in. So,
Why is this not? Sorry.
I think the first one is. All right.
You guys see that online?
I
Yes.
can.
Perfect.
For Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Bald head Wi-Fi, all one word, all lowercase. Bald head Wi-Fi.
All right, thank you. All right. There we go. All right. So a few things we're going to touch on today. Conclusion of the proposed 2026 budget, wrap up of the 2024 audits, some financial policy updates, Vanica update, and then 2025 success story. So let's dive right into the budget. So I know that we've had some discussion on this. It's been through Finance Committee. Finance Committee's reviewed it. We did have a board review meeting as well. Appreciate all the help from Paul and Vicky on this, having been new to this budget myself. So I think, today, I think we're supposed to officially adopt this budget. So I don't know if there's any questions on this. I know that from what came out of the Finance Committee was an approval, a recommendation to go up to 4%, match what you did last year, hold to the contribution on the reserves. Thank you, reserve that you did last year, with the caveat of let's do some homework on how we might get the reserve contribution slightly up a little more moving forward. But lots of positives to take away, and I think for the residents especially, that we did a very transparent process. Anybody could have that had questions could have asked them. I know the Finance Committee had a lot of healthy debate. It went from 0 to go spend more than 4%, and they landed kind of in the middle on that discussion with all the review that they went through. We added a model, a 30-year model. I don't think you've had that before, so it gave you a little more visibility for the residents to how their investments are being made on the reserve side of the assessment split, if you will, on that portion of the annual contribution. I myself served up a list of cost saving measures to the tune of about 30-some thousand. I think it was 35,000 that we have incorporated. We looked at a variety of ways to make sure that we were in line with cost. So we looked at advertising dollars. Could we go out and get more for our advertising dollars? We looked at the comparables at St. James and some other areas out here, and we're actually slightly higher than most of our counterparts on the advertising dollars. So not a lot of room to move there. We looked at our fees as well for the ARC process, and those are also in line and higher than others, maybe in line with some as well. So those seem to be where they needed to be. I do think there's some opportunity in some other areas for revenues, which we have incorporated a 10% adjustment to our boat lease amounts, our annual boat lease amounts. That has been incorporated into this budget. So I think we've done a pretty good job of evaluating, cost saving potential and revenue side. So I think it's down to, the board really just needs to decide on where you want to land. The % increase or not. So I feel pretty comfortable with what Finance Committee came away with. I think in having some of the prior discussions on reserve, we did update the reserve study this year. So we have new information to work with. You had old information, I guess, in prior budgeting cycles from 2020. I don't know the history on the conversations, obviously, on where you thought you were on the reserve contribution in total. Our model shows you right at around 17%. And that's not the end of the world. So I wouldn't, we're referencing 17% and saying, hey, get to 70. I think you have time to do that. So I'm not saying that that's something urgent that you need to focus on today. I think it's something you need to think about and how you get there. Ideally, you want to be in that 50 to 70% funded range. So, and you've got time to get there. So we did debate that extensively in the Finance Committee meeting with the model, and I think everybody came out of that with a pretty good understanding of it.
Hey, Doug, is it appropriate to ask a question now,
Sure.
or should I wait until? But related to what you just said in terms of the reserves, if we are to propose an increase to the dues, to the membership, obviously it behooves everyone to have a why to go along with that.
Sure.
And it seems like maybe a significant reason for the why relates to the reserve study. And if the reserve was historically underfunded over the course of many years, while the dues remained flat over those same years, then that's at least plausible to say, and not saying, the old regime, but if something that preceded us years ago was building to this point that got us to the deficit, then that's a more plausible story than, hey, we just want to, we want fancy new carpeting for the, for the upstairs of the ARC.
Sure. Yeah, I would say that your, your reserve as a percentage of your assessment is less than 3%. So it doesn't have a huge impact, but it does have an impact. If, for instance, if you were to go from 70% to 70%, you might see a pretty drastic hit to your budget, where we're talking about a 4%, which is around $24 increase, which is the same as I think what you did last year. You'd be looking at, I had the math in this, and I didn't bring it with me, but we debated it we looked at that in the Finance Committee, versus a $24 increase would have been $100 and some increase. You went to a 70% fund, right? And that was
Sure.
So we did look at that, and so I think as a percentage of change, that 4% is really focuses on the operational cost. costs,
Mhm.
for the most part. And so we have built in a 3% COLA for the overhead portion of it. We had savings in our insurance that kind of wiped that 3% out. So, we had a 3% COLA increase, but our insurance costs, somebody came off the plan, if I remember correctly. And so it kind of washed out in the mix. So the actual changes in the operating costs were really, some items that maybe weren't budgeted last year that we really needed to focus on in budget this year, like auditing costs, things like that. On over a little bit of money from, I think, your savings last year. So it was really scope increase.
Sure.
I do think there's one element of this that we would benefit from better publicizing. Is I don't think people, I know I didn't, understand that there is this maintenance role that we play for many assets on the island.
Mhm.
When they think of money relative to the BHA, they think of ARC costs. But in fact, that element of our responsibility is not visible.
Yeah.
And, that has staff attached to it and investments attached to it. And whenever we choose to educate our members around the finances of the organization, I think it's really important to bring that forward.
I agree. Yeah. I think I understand it's an increase, and that those are never popular. I think if you were to hold to a 0% increase, we could still manage it, but it would be drawing down on your existing savings account or reserve account to fund the operating of it.
Well, Paul said that he was personal friends with the negative naysayer, so he's going to manage any blowback this year.
Yeah, I would just like to comment. I know, and I speak for Paul on this too. We feel very confident that this budget has been thoroughly scrutinized, that the assumptions in the budget have been fully vetted and are supportable with data, real data, not opinions. The reserve has been underfunded, and as Doug said, some items in the budget were missing in the past that have now been fully accounted for. And I think while no one likes to see an increase, I think a $24 increase per home is a very modest increase to ask for when other costs have gone up. We had things in the budget that Doug stripped out because we were trying to really keep that at $24 per home or less. So that 4% is the same amount of increases last year, and less than perhaps we would like to see to get our reserves funded at the proper rate. To Betty's point, when you look at Doug's presentation on the budget on slide 4, we do list the assets associated with the reserve and the value of those assets. And we did discuss in the finance committee that we need to publicize that better because, Betty, to your point, people don't know that we have responsibility for all of these things and have to care for them in our plan. And it's basically a pay me now or pay me later sort of situation. So we are trying to avoid putting the association in a position where we may have to do a large assessment at some point in the future in order to fund this, the necessary activities associated with these properties in the reserve fund. And, nobody wants an assessment. We know the blowback from the last one, and we really didn't want to go there again. And we felt it was important to be prudent now to save ourselves that agony in the future.
Sounds like a no-brainer.
Good job.
I would agree. And the increase is just keeping up with inflation, basically.
I will tell you that, I don't have a lot of time in this budget. We analyzed the heck out of what we could this year, obviously. I think there's opportunity for revenue in different areas, maybe, but I need some more time with the budget for next year. So I do want to chase down some other revenue opportunities for us to try to offset some of these costs. And I feel really good about the foundation of what we had presented as a platform to maintain costs. If that makes sense. So I feel pretty confident with, we don't have any fluff in this budget. So it's a pretty big budget. I have recommended, and we had this discussion at the committee level, as a rule of thumb, you typically want to keep about 3 months worth of salary as an operating minimum. And that's, for us, that's about $150,000. Leanne and I kind of solved for where we would be at the beginning of the year prior to taking on some additional, new revenue, and we're hitting that 153 number. Now we're taking out, even with this budget at the 4%, we're still trying to find another 41,000 as a deficit funding out of that 150. I'm not overly concerned with that, because some of that is reserve contribution as a deficit number, and that I can wait to the end of the year to kind of move that money over from operating to reserves and just see how the year plays out.
Yeah, but if you're doing that also in the face of what you all believe to be a significantly underfunded reserve, then that would be potentially doing exactly what we're trying to avoid doing by budgeting.
I had budgeted for it. I'm just going to sit on the money until later in the year so I can manage my operating risk a little more. But I'd love to have a little more funding this year, and I'm not gonna lie, and throw out the reserve account. But I'm a realist. I mean, I think this is enough for us to ask for this year from a staff standpoint, at least. So I think we do need to work on a plan on how we move forward to protect the assets with funding. And so you do want to be in that 50 to 60% funded range at all times, I believe, just having done this for a while. But we don't have any big replacements coming up in the near future that worries me. Like if we had this building and the roof was falling off and siding was dropping away, and we knew within 2 to 3 years we had some big hits coming, this would be a different conversation. But I think we've got some life left in these, and I think we're probably 10 years out on some major repairs that I think we've got some time to kind of manage that and not overburden the homeowners with a big assessment today. So.
I have to admit, I feel that we also need to maybe change our posture a little bit when it comes to these fees. There is no reason for us to apologize for a $2 a month increase. When we were all just handed bills of 8,000, 15,000 from the club. I mean, this is a rich population, and having lived in America, as we all have, anybody who's lived in an HOA environment knows for sure this is a spit in the ocean. And I don't have to apologize for this. It's
I agree.
It's an incredible.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that even though we don't have to apologize, that it would be in everyone's interest to have a good detailed explanation.
Absolutely. But I'm not going to lose these people.
Well, where we're really fortunate is we are very fortunate to have a committee of highly qualified professionals being led by Paul and Vicky, and with Doug's knowledge, all the answers will be there.
Okay.
So we don't have to apologize. The facts will be there for people.
Is there an elevator speech you can give us as board members? When someone says, gosh, I understand the fees are going up.
There will be, and I think I'd like to publish something to that extent as well. Either it comes from me or it comes from Vicky and Paul. We'll work together on that, and I think that the timing of that is probably next month, before for January, and I think it's a positive story. I really do. So I think we've had some. We'll get to the last slide here. It's a little funner to talk about. But you guys, we've done a lot this year to kind of move the ball forward. So I think it will be a positive story.
I'd like to point out too that one of the exercises we've done, I've been here for 3 years, and this is the first time I've ever had the budget put in front of me and been like, hey, you have responsibilities day to day. Do you want to see what that does to impact the budget? And that's just me. The rest of the upstairs, the rest of the staff have never been part of that process. So not only this year has Doug built a budget, he's also built an education system to let us know what we can control, what we can put our hands on, how we can watch that and understand what that reflects in. And it's made a huge impact in the last couple of months, let alone what it'll do next year and the following year. So
Our team members look at that.
we've never been allowed to, touch it. So this is the first year that we've not only been allowed to look and understand, we've been told, hey, this box is your purview. What do you think we need this year? What do you spend in a year for this? Which we've, like I said.
That's back to accountability. So staff has accountability for these items under their purview, which is a good thing. And if anyone questions whether we're overspending, just leave that terrible looking golf cart parked in front of the BHA building. They're
Our best to keep that sucker moving. We call him Krusty. It's our love name for him. Like, we've lost parts off that sucker.
We actually can get a few bucks for it, so we're gonna trade it out for some maintenance costs on the rest, or maintenance plan costs on the rest of them.
There you go.
We're investing Krusty right back into the association in the safest way possible.
I think Dave's money off that.
Exactly. We're taking Krusty out to pasture next week.
That watch went out last week. You know, so yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's move on to the next one.
Maybe it's not letting me. Yeah. Sorry. There we go.
All right. So, I was obviously not here for budget, but I'm sort of happy to report that audit is back and has turned out very well. Auditor is basically saying, look, you got positive cash on cash equivalents of $2 million. So you're up from 23. Now this is the 24 audit. So remember that. So you're up 15% from 23. So that basically tells you you've got a positive cash stance in your budget. Your revenues are at 1.2 million. The source of those revenues are very predictable because it's a membership assessment. That's another positive key financial indicator. Total delinquent collections were within the budgeted tolerances. So you did budget a little bit for, collections, if you will, and we were within the range on that. Your reserve contribution outweighed your expenses. That's always a good sign. So you had about 150 that were moved over, 150,000 that were moved over from the investments to the reserve account. And you gained a little bit of interest on the overall accounts of about 47,000. So that in an auditor's mind and in my mind means you've managed the reserve money well. You're getting some interest where you can. Your reserve expenditures for that year were around 95,000. So that's a net revenue growth. If you contribute 150,000, you're only spending about 47,000 in a year. So your expense position was well managed as well. So it is a good picture from an audit standpoint. We may note that the board is taking action and did commission a new study update in 24 to be done this year in 25, which was, so that was move. We did pay our taxes on time and we used the 1120H form. So that again is responsible. And we've made sure that all the assets are protected with the appropriate amount of insurance. So again, that's another thing that you look for to get positive feedback on audit. So and as a side note, we did discuss in prior board meetings and finance committee that battery force being used off the balance sheet simply because it is truly common property shared by all. So that's just a no impact on cash balance sheet adjustment. not out of the norm.
Doug,
Yeah.
along with that, it's if we are publishing and as we should publish the accounting and auditing statement on our website.
Yeah.
I think it would be beneficial for you to have an explanation, because if somebody looks at that without an explanation, they're going to say $600,000 is missing from our, if they look at page 1, they're going to say, where did $600,000 go? And,
Yeah,
And
we
the auditor's note does have the explanation in there.
Yeah, there's a.
oh yeah, Vicky, I just don't expect somebody to read to page 17 on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll make that prominent if we need to. It was very heavily vetted with Paul, myself, and discussion with the auditor on the appropriate way to do that. So, and auditor assisted with how to explain that properly, so we have a good note. Any questions on the audit?
I love the bottom line. I mean, that's a great message.
Yeah, strong liquidity, growing reserves, steady revenue. It's a clean audit. Very transparent reporting. I am used to posting these on the website, so the board's okay with that. And I do want to put a stamp on the bottom of it that says audited financials, because it's a piece of the packet. It does have the financials in here. So we'll do that if you guys are in agreement with that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
This thing is not happy with me today.
Good job.
Can't take credit for that one, but I'll talk board on it. All right, so just continuing on with fiscal responsibility. Some of the things that we've worked with the finance committee on and continue to work on are, defining how we're gonna manage the way we do business next year, which is we're going to move away from this hybrid cash accrual approach that we've been doing in the past to a cash basis throughout the year with the CPA assisted adjustment to any accruals at the end of the year. Very common in the HOA world to do that. Even discussion with auditor, and I think Vicky, I know Paul was on that, maybe Vicky was on that conversation too. He's got 100 and some properties he's working on. The majority of them do it that way. It's pretty common on every property. So we're gonna seek new CPA as part of a RFP process. Then we'll work with that new CPA to more clearly define what that looks like for the residents, should they have a question on that. We're also working on updating the finance policy. Apologies for not having the final draft here. I worked on it during finance committee and somehow did not save. So we did a lot of comments. I do remember the comments. We'll go back to reporting and I'll get all that kind of incorporated. But the comment of moving to the cash, Vicky did a tremendous amount of work on adding a section on delinquencies and how we handle that from a legal and just a process standpoint. And I think that was great information. I made a few adjustments on signing authority, which I think you guys need to have an opinion on. I think it's more of a convenience thing for us staff more than, us taking away any type of authority. I think if it's for example, if it's one of the recommendations was if it's a contracted thing, the board has already approved, executive director could go ahead and sign an invoice for it, right? Regardless of what that number was. Some things like that. I think that would take away maybe 50% of our invoices on the landscape, which is a very good example where we have a landscape contract. You guys have signed it. Executive director or prior approved it. We're just signing off on invoices. And so, that just cuts down on trips for board members to come in the office and sign things. Having said that, going to new software, we may be moving that approval process digitally anyway. So, we'll talk more about that, I guess. But so we also this year we are working hard to move away from this line item approach of how we present the financials. Is there a question? There. On how we present the financials, we're going to a cost center approach, which is very commonplace as well. So you'll have categories, for example, what does this building cost us as a component, right? And how much money or how much revenue is this building bringing in versus, trying to find it in 300 line items. So we're going to look at that from a revenue cost standpoint, and we're structuring it that way, which has been some of that spirited debate that Leanna and I have been having this week with Vanica on how to set all that up. And I think that's, that will be well received once we get it into next year. So I think the bulk of this slide was to focus on that. So the big image that's on the slide as well that we are touched on is we are hitting our dates on the schedule that we came up with on getting the budget together, involving the staff, involving the committee, getting it to the board, presenting it to the board, thinking about getting out there and sourcing CPA and or auditor. Where's our tax process fall in line? So we are tracking the schedule. I think that's all good news. So Vanica, that is our staff world at the moment. Kudos to Dora and to Chris and especially Leanne. We are living this right now. I know people are doing multiple classes. Some folks are leaving work early so they can work later on classes that are in the afternoon. And so it's been an endeavor. I think it's safe to say as a guesstimate, we're at around 70% through most of our training courses on it. Myself and Leanne are still working through kind of getting the GL piece of it up and dialed in and into the new system. We are mapping it back to the very painful layout that is in Enumerate so that we can close out books appropriately. So there's a lot that obviously goes into that I won't bore you with, but it kudos to, again, Leanne for diving into that. So we're also looking and thinking about a rollout and what does that look like for everybody. And so staff, go live date, and I'll say this is just visibility of site to staff only. We're looking at first week in December, so we're pretty much on target for that. We'll have a few weeks built into that where Vanica is just on call for us to manage whatever. Board, we're looking at, because we know you guys are getting the first phone calls. So we want to kind of train you up a little bit on your portals ahead of time. So we're looking at a target of that week of the 15th to the 19th to find you and train you somehow.
Just to reiterate, we don't need you all 5 of those days. We're just giving you a chunk. So say, for instance, Steve, you're only available that Monday. I can get a hold of, you know what I mean? Like that's just we're not going to ask all 5 days of you. It's probably a good hour to an hour and a half worth of just crash coursing.
So I don't know what that looks like just yet. Maybe Dora's probably got a picture in her head a lot better than I do, but we want to get you familiar enough to go in there and be able to, answer some basic questions for some folks. It's very intuitive, so I don't think you're going to have any problems with it. The screen or the dashboard, if you will, that you guys see, every resident will see. They just won't see a box over on the right that has all your stuff. Right, so that box will pop up for you, and it'll have actions, and it may have a flag or something beeping that says you got to do this, right? And so that'll be in there for you guys. So you'll have a different layer of access, but you'll have the same screen and the same approach that every other resident will have.
Is this a payment portal for dues too?
It is. Yeah. So we're putting some thought into how that rolls out as well. So we've got the board training, and then I'm going to call it a soft launch on 12/29. So what that means is we'll go live, and it'll be out there for people to access on 12/29. I don't want to push it very hard until after the holidays.
Right.
So we're gonna wait till about 1/5, and then we're gonna hit it hard with, this is coming, this is out there, and residents, this is how you deal with it. So we'll have a sort of a plan around that on how we do that. I have done this before, good, better, and different. It was an endeavor at Sun City Hilton where I had rolled out about 20,000 people, and so I guess it's good. I've done it before, so I understand how to communicate with different age brackets of folks
Yeah,
and
that's what I was
capabilities. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's a good idea to just pick maybe 2 days of the week for 1 month with short windows that people know they can come in here.
Sure. Yeah.
Some
Happy
of
to
our
do that.
community probably really appreciate that.
Honestly, we have an extra laptop set up and ready to go. So if someone wants to come in and literally just hands-on, have someone walk them through where they can literally touch the laptop and figure out how to do it that way.
Very helpful.
Yeah. Other things I've done in the past too is you use the committees. That's what they're there for. So we'll educate the committees.
Perfect.
Committees can educate folks as well. So
Education and
there's always
recreation.
ways to
Oh,
wouldn't pop into the committee.
no, I think finance committee.
Yeah.
You could have a potluck.
We could have a band.
Potluck and IT issues. Yeah, they go together
You
well.
could do a Vansica potluck. That would be great.
I like it.
Yeah. All right. So we have a plan and we're kind of working through it. Next slide. All right, so we've had a busy year, and I think there was a request last meeting, I think, or meeting before. What have we knocked out this year? So I wanted to get that list going. This will take a prettier format, probably in a salt and oak edition of some sort, or a compass. But we established, or I established, the staff's little circle up in the corner there. 4 focal points that we really wanted to dial into, and I think we've hit just about every one. So the first one was let's improve BHA's image. I know I heard that when I was interviewed. Not that it was horrible, but it needed a little help. Improve operational efficiency. We polished up communications and we improved fiscal transparency. So I think these are all reward successes. Regardless of whether staff or whomever, I think you guys sort of asked for these things and gave us that direction, at least when I came on board. So, I think these are great. I think the board ought to pat themselves in the back too for this list, because it's a team effort, and you guys certainly gave the directives. And I know Christine's been in the office, working hand in hand with us, So kudos to Christine, because she's really been, here's where we need to focus, here's what we need to do. And you guys don't really hear those conversations, but we kind of take them to heart and try to deliver. So on the operations and the office side, I wanted day one to start working on that image in the office. And so we did reconfigure a few offices in there. I call it phase 1. We got rid of a ton of files. We're still working on that. We did get a replacement for old Krusty. And we also, people tend to forget that also that part is enhanced our CWS efforts, because it gives us more days and more access out there now that we have an additional part. And so it is important, and I've kind of seen that evolve just being here. We've upgraded our phone system from 20-year-old system to modern day, which helps with receiving calls and missed calls. We've implemented a new RFP process. We used that for the housekeeping in this building, which was struggling a bit, and also our new software contract again, that kind of speaks to that financial transparency and process. Fiscal responsibility side, we did complete the 2025 reserve study. That was a methodical approach and effort to go through that, look at the assets, engage staff opinion on it, and then healthy debate with reserve consultant on line by line detail in that study. So, and then finance committee was educated on that as well and presented a fairly detailed presentation on it. And I think that was well received. We completed the new annual budgeting schedule, which I think was on one of the other slides. I'm not sure if you had that before, but we certainly have one now. We went through the banking accounts, which was probably one of the more painful things for me, that were all over the place from a labeling standpoint. Money's fine, put that on record. But the labeling of the accounts, if a layperson were to try to pick that up and make sense of it, good luck. So we have cleaned that up with the help of the bank. And so I think we're in a much better position there. We also were confirming our FDIC coverage as we went through that exercise, and I think we're doing okay there. And then we obviously completed the audit this year as well as a matter of process. On the people side, we implemented a goal setting and a merit-based staff review program. So that is a big deal. It's only one line, but it engages every employee. It creates some accountability. As you know, this week we've had some accountability, and that's okay. That's why we have this program. But it also sets up reviews for. I think we're going to do those reviews kind of that first week of December. I think is what we talked about. So we'll be doing that using this system. So you'll have a formula for how we come up with things that I think makes a lot of sense that may not have been there in the past. Training and implementing for new software, that is ongoing. So we're educating our staff. I think that's a good thing, regardless of whether you're taking on a new software or not. It's continued education. And we were pretty proactive with filling some open positions. I think they were only open for about 2 months. So I know on the ARC side, we had a couple of positions. Maddie was one of which has been a great hire. So I think, kudos to team for getting that done fairly quickly. On the communication side, I have a new coffee table book called Salt Notes, which I think has been well received. Compass, it was more about cleaning up format, but also dialing in relevant information for the 2-week window of Compass. I think was a big part of that effort for that piece of material, because everything that I picked up in sort of the older publications was throughout the year, so I did want to try to focus that in on the window of the publication for that. That was, I think, should have been the intent. So we've done that, and then the Salt and Oaks will continue to refine as we move forward.
I just have a question.
Sure.
And I don't want to muck up the Compass. I think it's a wonderful format now. Is there any advertising opportunity at the tail end of the Compass? Sort of spot ads that people would be willing to buy.
So I wanted to get Salt and Oaks together in a format that we felt comfortable with, to then, because that's driving the advertising conversation. Yeah. And then once that was dialed in, which we are seeing some new advertisers, by the way, but taking some interest. I think Johnny went to a full page versus we've had some renewed interest, but we need to start there, and so we need to get that kind of momentum going. Next step will be to start diving into the lower tiers with additional opportunity for advertising. So there will be a plan to do that. I did incorporate some stretch in our budget. I need Kim to go out and find a couple pages of advertising. We built that into our budget for 26. That is in there when you find it, which she's already kind of source some of that now. So we're feeling pretty good about that. I would still tell you that Salt and Oaks and Compass are, in my mind, probably 70% of where I want to be. So they're still not there. I think we can do more with those.
And we will do more. And I'll tell you, just with what you all, the work you've done on that, people are loving it. And
Good.
that's going to pull the advertisers in. So
That's good. Good. So we reignited the conversations, and I think this was another thing that kind of came up during the process that maybe I brought it up for you guys. I felt like it was important for all the heads of the island to be communicating on a regular basis, and so we did get those leadership meetings going again. And I'll take a part credit of that, but I think, you know, Christine and or Peter and some others have certainly driven that home too. So I think that's a good thing. We got a manager level one going to start, and then we got a higher level one going, Christine, Peter, and others. And I think those are very productive, just sitting in the room and having those conversations. So I think communications from, you know, that's another very positive board thing that has happened this year. So I think, you know, we'll do more. I suggest we do a lot more of that. You know, communications, again, the database software, you haven't seen it yet, but that will raise the bar when it comes to engagement with property owners and access to information. So, you know, within the end of this year, beginning of next year, you'll start to see some of that play out. And then that database information will also, probably first quarter of next year, you'll start to see the ARC efficiency even get better than it is today, which I think we've made some huge strides in that. And that's kind of where I finished with this, you know, this presentation is the ARC component. So I think that was one of the larger challenges we had this year. We have created, you know, sort of the blocking and tackling, I call it, of the operation when it comes to ARC. We needed to fix some process issues that were going on in there. Certainly, we had some people changes at the beginning of the year, and Chris has done a bang-up job of kind of adopting a new philosophy on how we deal with folks. But certainly, you know, submission cover sheets, it's not the sexiest stuff in the world, but it's needed. We've got a pipeline tracker that nobody sees, but we use it and monitor. We've got prep meetings with the committee chairs, which I think they appreciate. I know Tiffany and David have been pretty happy with those. We've got a last minute call list that Dora and I can either chime in on if needed to, you know, help facilitate those stragglers right before meetings. And then we even went so far as to publish an approvable paint colors and materials handbooks, which is actually pretty cool, on the website.
looking for that.
That I think Maddie and others worked on as well. So, you know, I think.
Yeah, I think you need to continue to tell people that that's out there. I noticed it in the last publication, and it was very timely because someone that the week before had just asked me if such a handbook existed. So I think that's amazing, and I think we need to publish that in every month in the materials. It needs to be standard so people know that it's out there.
Good idea.
So I think you guys as a board have a lot of things to talk about, right? I think we've accomplished a lot this year. We have more to do next year. I think the big jump next year for us is obviously getting comfortable with the software and having some time with it. I think the publication communication side, we've got a lot of opportunity there next year for that. I think one untapped thing that I'll just lay out for the board as a recommendation would be, I would love to see committees get promoted more with what they're doing, and staff to engage a little more with that to help facilitate that through communications. So I think there's some opportunity there to sell what committees are doing more.
Yeah.
Because they are doing some good stuff, and I try to pop into meetings when I can.
And that's another new thing, by the way.
Yeah.
I really appreciate coming in and seeing you sitting in meetings.
Yeah. I mean, you got to kind of know what you guys are doing, I know it's difficult sometimes because you guys kind of work in your groups and we're often busy doing some things, but if we can get our staff liaisons into those meetings, just so we're in the loop, we can help you kind of, refine some of that. So I think that's an opportunity for next year. And then I think, I harped on this when I first got here, the lifestyle component of the entire island, I think maybe through these leadership meetings, I think is something that we need as a larger community to promote, which will also help promote real estate values and the image of the entire island, especially with, potentially developer kind of phasing out. So I do think that's very important for next year as well. So I think that's the end of my slides there. So any questions?
That was a great update. I mean, wow.
Thank you.
Wow. You do good work.
I tried.
Yeah.
Sure.
You and your
I got good
entire
help.
team. I know, exactly. You're so appreciated.
Yeah.
We're just not used to this, so wow. Okay.
He sometimes makes the wrong opportunity to when to tell it, but he does really good work.
Okay, any questions for Doug, guys?
None for me.
Okay, all right then. Thank you, Doug. And we are going to move on to number 4, our financial report. Good morning, Leanne.
You're on mute.
Leon's on mute.
You're on mute.
Still on mute.
Leanne, you're
Leanne.
muted.
Okay.
How's that?
Much
There
better.
you go.
There you go.
Okay, I'm going to start out with the aging report, Doug. And I will say we've had spirited conversations, but we're still all speaking to each other. So I think that says a lot. Okay. Just wanted to show you they're all running in the 90% again. Our quarterlies won't show up till next month. About half of those people have paid that are supposed to have. So we're doing fine with getting everything in, and we don't have to file any liens, so we're doing really good.
Excellent.
The summary sheet, Doug. I'm doing this fast just for Christine. She tells me she falls asleep when I do these. Okay, our income, our variance were up $21,392, and our expenses are below projected $161,714. We're doing well with our non-member rentals. That's something you just have to guess at every year because it changes from year to year. And this year this month we've taken in $3,700. Our ARC filing fees, they've been very busy, and this month we took in $28,725. Violation fees, our repeat offender, that person has fixed their property, so now we are not charging anymore, so that's gone down to just nothing again. Our expenses, I've talked about the wildlife overlook before. We have paid the auditor half of their fee, and we've still got $7,500 to pay to them. We had one reserve expense, which was the AC bathroom exhaust fan. Nearly burned down the building. It was very, very old, and we were forced to replace that. You have all your banking accounts, their balances, and other than that, I think it's a pretty straightforward. Nothing's changed, and we're still doing well. We still think we're going to make our projections. That's all I have, unless somebody's got a question.
Did we already mention to everyone how we've got that account closed and you finally got your ransom money back?
That is next month. I was gonna ring your bell next month, but we didn't do it till November, so I can't say. But just to give, so you'll be on the edge of your seat. We got rid of the Truist account now, and I'm so excited.
Let's go.
It was a lot of time, a lot of work in the making there.
Crazy.
Christine,
Mm.
Well, I just confused the heck out of them to where they just wanted to give me a check and get me out of there.
I think so. Yeah, they probably just want to get rid of us. Yeah.
Yeah. All
Any
right, that's good. Any
questions?
questions for Leanne?
None.
No.
Thank you, Leanne.
As always, timely, matter of fact, to the point, and she's done. Thank you, Leanne.
Thank you, Leanne.
Welcome.
Okay, brings us to number 5, approval of 2026 budget, updated financial policy. So this is, do we need to go ahead and take a vote?
I think the policy we need to wait because we have, the finance committee hadn't approved the final version of the policy.
So we're
So
gonna,
just the budget?
Just the budget.
okay.
Okay.
So do I have a motion?
I so move that we approve the 2026 budget as presented.
Betty? Do I have a second?
Second.
Steve has second. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Okay, unanimous
Good
pass.
job.
Yay. Okay, let's move on to committee updates and Vicky, we've covered a lot of finance, but if there's something you want to let us know about that, your committee and all their hard work, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, just real quickly, we did ask the committee, we kind of pushed forward a action item for 2026, which is to look at ways to get the funding of the reserve up to a higher level than the 17.8% we have now. So that's an action going forward into next year. And then to the point about the policy changes, like Doug mentioned in his update, the main things is adding a whole section on how we will handle from a process perspective, delinquent assessments. And that was an ask, I think, at the board retreat back in February or March. So we have a section that we're working through on that. And then a lot of input on that policy to clarify the stuff Doug was talking about related to how we handle cash accounting and accrue our expenses and revenues over the year. So we want to clarify that and memorialize our practice. So that's, something that everyone is aware of, and it's not something that changes year to year without a policy change. So we're still tweaking that. So we will have that available by the December meeting or the December session if we need to have that session, through email or whatever.
Yeah, and Vicky brings up a good point. Next month, our goal is to not really have a meeting, but if we do have something we need to vote on, we can do it virtually on the 19th. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think we were all in favor of that when we discussed that. Busy time of the year, and if there's not much going on, which there shouldn't be, we'll just meet virtually. Vicky, I do want to ask you, since Paul's not here, this is the perfect time. I would love for Paul, and I'm sure you would too, to stay on as a committee member for you next year. So maybe you can start pushing in that direction. I know Steve's already started to work on it and Doug has, and of course I have. I think it would be helpful. And then also, do you know how many committee members you're going to need this next year?
Almost all of them. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 that would be rolling off next year. So unfortunately, this committee did not have, the staggering for whatever reason that we had done in most of the other committees in terms of giving people terms that maybe ended after 2 years instead of 3, for example. So we need a lot more new blood, and some I would recommend that we, have for a year term, because right now nobody's rolling off in 27. Everybody's rolling off in 26 except for 2 people in 28. So we need to rebalance this committee and have some new folks.
That's why I asked that. I seem to remember that was not in good shape. Darn. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's figure that out. And we got to start thinking about, as board members, some people that we believe would be good for that committee.
We lost an ARC person as well, I think, right? One's moving, selling their house.
We have an
Oh,
ARC.
yes, Andrea.
Yeah, we have an ARC person this week. Now, on the bright side, that person was already up to term this year anyway.
Okay.
So it is, I mean, we did a really good job. I shouldn't say we, Christine did a really good job of making sure the staggering for the ARC was proportional, that we would have a certain amount fall off every year so that it has that new fresh look, but still have that same perspective of people being on. The person who's moving happens to be also coming off for the year 2026 anyway. But we do need you guys to get out there and start seeing who wants to volunteer for these
Right.
committees. Yeah.
Relate the list of all the committees with the roll off.
Yeah.
That'd be helpful.
And any notes.
Yeah, I'll put them out per email. They're also in your board folder underneath committees.
Did Rhonda McNary just come on your?
Yeah.
She's on the finance committee for term expiring in 28.
Okay. All right, it's more important that we talk Paul into coming on now. This is huge. And let's just see what we can do. Thank you, Steve, for that recommendation. We'll go ahead and pass around that list. And we can all, as we see our friends, which is how I pretty much talked all of you people into being a part of this, go out and have a beer together and talk about joining.
I do agree that I think personal one-on-one is the way to attract people, but I also have seen, I've seen the chapel has done a really lovely piece on Facebook talking about looking for volunteers. And I think all of the organizations are going to be needing folks. So I don't know if there might be something that Kim could whip up.
Sure.
Or we could, and maybe even stick it in the compass.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be stretched to get people.
Yeah. So the good news is about our committees is they're kind of tailored towards certain people. You get maybe real estate agents, designers, or builders are great for ARC. Bankers are great for finance, things like that. So yeah, just bumping into friends and talking to them and giving them the spiel.
And I'm looking for party girls.
Yeah,
for
we need to deserve to get a nice group of people. You worked so hard this year. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Were you finished, Vicki? Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I'm done.
Okay, thank you, Vicki. Betty, let's move on to.
Along that same line, what we have determined this year and last year when we did it, I'm gonna, sort of pre-announce this as a committee. It is very hard for the E&R committee to have part-time people on island because we are hands-on events people. So what we have found is half of our committee disappeared this year. And so there are 4 of us, myself included, I'm now a full-time member of the committee, have been running everything. So as we look at possible people, I'm going to be trying to tap people who are on the island because that's what we need. I also think we need to reconsider as a committee. We've had a history of certain things that we do, and it's cumbersome, and the club and all of these new businesses that are putting out and events, that people come to. I don't know that we need to do all the things that E&R has done in the past. So we may do a little more on education. And actually, your idea about the potluck, would you want to come to a potluck and do a presentation for the authors? And, maybe we do that in January, or we do it in February or whatever. But I do think that we need to do more in the way of education because we have 50% turnover in our ownership, But I will tell you about the big exciting thing, and you're going to get sick of hearing this. Along the lines of community, it started with the BHA, but it's turned into an island-wide activity. It takes a village, and it is going to be a grouping of the 10 organizations on the island that are established organizations that are part of the BHI experience. We are coming together and we are going to sponsor a homeowner, total homeowner event in April 9th. So please put that on your calendar because we're looking to have all the board members of all the organizations attend. We are working on a combination meet and greet for all of the island property owners and all of the board members of all of the organizations. We're looking to provide information on each organization, what it does, the contribution it makes, how people can volunteer and serve with them, and to say thank you to the hundreds of volunteers who make Bald Head what it is. And it's going to be fabulous.
Can't wait.
And so far we have managed to raise money. It sounds a little silly, but the people that we are inviting are also the people we're trying to thank, so you don't want to hit them with, but we are raising money so that hopefully we'll get it down. We have a nice menu. Hopefully we'll get it down to $20 a head. I'm hoping the club is also going to kick in a free cocktail, and it's going to be a several-hour meet and greet. There will be some individual name recognition for people who have been volunteers. And we are hoping, one of the things we're really hoping to do is we're going to have the ocean room and probably the palm room. Yep. We want to get a video together and from all the organizations, pictures that they have from all the events they've done, past, present, whatever, and messaging from each organization thanking their volunteers. And it's just going to run on the screens in the pond. I mean, we're really, really trying to make this an island celebration, acknowledging that we're in this together. It takes a village to create the specialness that is BHI.
So you said the 9th?
April 9th, Thursday.
Thursday, okay. I just want to make sure.
Thursday after Easter.
Like in the evening.
Yes, yes. And what we're going to do is, I think we said 5 to 7, and we're also going to encourage people if they want to have dinner on the grill. But they are giving us also the palm room so that if people want to hang out and just have more drinks and be with their neighbors. And it really is, to your point, focusing on the community spirit here on the island. And we hope it's a real kickoff to, something special.
What a great idea. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, she's worked hard on that.
It's really going to be fun. And we're working hard.
All the people you've talked to are very excited and think that you've presented this beautifully and are happy to take part.
Yeah, we've got every organization, and we've got board members from every organization serving on an advisor committee. So it's working out.
Yes.
So that is where my energy is going.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
That and Santa Claus next week.
I love Santa Claus. And that's the other thing you've done is you've made sure that you're spreading the love to our different island businesses.
Yeah.
So I know you're doing Santa Claus this year at Jules. So thank you for that, because there was a little shakeup with people saying, why is everything done at one particular place all the time? But you've made it so you spread the love. And we appreciate that. Okay.
Put it on the calendar, and you're going to have special name tags so they can find you. That you're a
Is there a little target on them?
Yeah,
That's
yes.
more the truth.
Yes.
So funny.
And Doug put that on your calendar.
It's there, yes.
He already did it. And if we could do a potluck per se thing with Doug,
Yeah.
we try to do it on the weekend.
Dinner with Doug.
Yeah, we try to do that on the weekend if possible.
I
Once he
On
leaves
what?
this island, I do it on a weekend if possible, because once he leaves this island during the week, he puts on a different hat. He's dad at home, so
Okay.
it's a little harder for him to get back here.
I like doing those too with, we'll tag team with a board member. So, especially if, for example, that last slide, if we just wanted to kind of go through something like that as an exercise, I think that's a good opportunity for a board to kind of showcase what's going on and we kind of support it.
Okay.
All right, so I'll go ahead and start with ARC, and then I'm going to let Derek kind of piggyback off of that. I want to say that I'll reiterate what I said last month. ARC is strong, going well. I think Chris is the bomb. She's amazing, and she's lived up to every expectation. I thought, she would do a great job, and she has. I will say in my last meeting, and this is going to be unusual for me to say anything even remotely close to negative, but I saw some of our committee members slipping back into the old practice of thoughts and feelings, which has no business in the room. And I was joining by Zoom, so I was able to sit there and do a little bit of a count on how many times I heard about the feelings and the likes and the don't like and all that, and it added up tremendously. So I made a point of letting Chris, Tiffany know about that, and they thought about it and they realized that there was a little bit of that. So all it is a little reminder. This is a slip into the year a little bit, and they, sometimes you fall back into some, not lazy, but you're just not thinking about the words you need to keep out of the meeting, and so they're going to take care of that, and I'm sure it'll be perfectly fine next month. Other than that, there are no issues, no problems. The committee runs well, smooth, quick, no issues. I mean, I even told them after we were done at the end of the meeting, someone got some really bad news, but the way it was delivered was awesome. And that's what we want. We want people to walk away thinking, well, that's not going to work, but they had a lot of nice things to say and they sounded very professional. So
I have just a general question about the ARC process, because I know that it's been a major focal point and lots of improvement. Last year, we had many discussions about, missing deadlines or whatever the deadlines are that are in our documents. Do we have a set of metrics that now says, hey, we typically promise that we will get back to someone in X amount of time? What percentage of the time do we meet that?
I got to say,
know how that is going?
I can't give you percentages, perhaps Dora can, but what I can let you know is no one's falling through the cracks. We're calling people beforehand. We're not letting people miss deadlines.
Yeah, I mean, because that and the noise is just absolutely absent. I mean, the complaining is absent, and it would be nice again to have it in our hip pocket in terms of how is the ARC doing. The ARC is doing tremendous.
Yeah.
And here's a data.
I'm not getting phone calls getting yelled at, so that's a really big improvement. Or not.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
The ARC was seen as being, and probably was in some aspects, actively oppositional to applications. Finding reasons to deny, finding reasons to say no. And now if you're, doing things like GASP, actually reaching out to somebody to say, hey, we've got the 70 pages, we're missing the 3, rather than just saying, I got you, denying your application.
That's right.
Then
Yeah.
even that's just a change.
I mean, zero buzz, which is incredible.
yeah, I was
Amazing.
in that, I was in that meeting with that Christine's referring to, and even after that meeting, I think Chris did a great job, and I got a phone call as well and sort of managed that situation. But we proactively seek that person out and had a conversation with, and also had a separate conversation with architect that was part of that meeting, and so I think we were able to kind of recoup that. And then in Derek's meeting, I did know that person was coming back to a different meeting. So I intentionally sat in there and kind of gave a little bit of a pep talk on how we staff and, committee really need to focus on specifics versus, generalized opinions. And I think that meeting went well with that same individual. I think he was very positive.
Yes.
So I think, it's just paying attention to those kind of details and that philosophy for us. And, Chris is really the head of that philosophy because she is it, right? Yeah. So I think she's done a great job, and Dora did a great job kind of coaching her up. So I think we've got a room to improve here and there, but, I think some of that banter with the committee members is natural. I mean, it's an opaque process sometimes, with you know, a lot of it is gray area. And so, but I think they are doing a great job of,
They are doing a great job, but when you can see a slip starting to happen, you want
Yeah.
to catch it and kind of do a little reset. And that's all I was doing, was just
Yeah.
mentioning that Chris is great. She's a great leader in those meetings. And it's, you know, she leads by good example. And that's a good thing. And these were just a couple of people that I even heard one of the committee members say, I know that was a feeling, or whatever she said. And I was like, she caught herself. I love that. We just want to be careful, and you know, we're all friends and neighbors, but these are people's lives we're talking about, a big impact on their lives. So, and I'm mindful of that, and I just want everyone else to be. I want to also mention that those pre-meetings, I saw Tiffany the other night, and her and David really appreciate those meetings. They're so helpful, and they're totally prepped for their meetings before they walk in, and it shows. So that's a good new thing we've done this year, and hopefully that'll continue on, you know, for good. And that's all I have to say about that. So Derek, what do you have to say about your committee?
Well, I've been on this committee for a year, and I will tell you, Christine, when you put me on this committee, I was scared to death, given the history, and now I don't want to get off this committee. I don't want to be moved to another committee. I enjoyed these meetings tremendously. I have learned so much. I will tell you that I have three words to describe this committee. I think that they are always overly prepared. I think they're thoughtful, and I think they're helpful. We had a great meeting yesterday. Doug was with us. The reason this thing is working now is because of all the prep work that Doug and Chris and Dora are doing. They come in knowing the issues. They are always in deep discussion. The preliminary reviews, I think, are the most in depth. I think Doug would agree with me, because that's the process where, you know, we're trying to help the homeowner and the architect out to say, you've got a lot of issues here. But like, for example, yesterday, the person that Doug's referring to had a lot of issues on his preliminary plan, but the committee said, we have solutions that we would like to talk to you about. And he was so receptive, and it went over wonderfully. I mean, I just watched the room. But what I'm seeing is people who take this and they seem to just get to the heart of the issue very, very quickly. Unlike your committee, Christine, our committee has kept the opinions and feelings out. For example, yesterday, the issue came up with, well, the front of this structure has some, you know, uniqueness. What do y'all think about this? And it was, well, I wouldn't do it that way, but that's not the standard. And when I heard that, I went, okay, you guys get it. You guys know what's going on. So I'm so impressed with these folks. I hate to lose any of them. I really would like to get with you, Christine, to talk about the folks that need to replace these people, because they have been wonderful. This committee is operating greatly. I can't tell you how many times, Doug, and you back me up, where we will approve something contingently on you coming back and taking care of X, Y, Z, so they don't have to come back for a full review. So hats off to these guys. Hats off to Doug and Dora and Chris. Wonderful job.
It's so good to hear. I love that. And I do love your committee as well. You know, a couple of times I've been over that way. They're all enjoyed. So awesome. Hopefully you're not losing too many. I think you were staggered pretty well, and we'll get together and talk about some good replacements.
Sounds good.
Okay, awesome. Steve, do you have anything?
I don't.
You were so happy. You were ready to say that, weren't you? Okay.
And we thank you for that.
All right, moving on to members' comments. Dora, do we have any of our wonderful members online today?
No. So unless, yeah, unless you
And
guys
there-
have any more comments as members, we will.
And there is no one in this room. So once again, you do not have a lot of room to complain if you're not simply online or in this building to talk to us. And I think it speaks volumes to the good job, the good work that we're all doing. Did you have any calls this week?
I did not. I did not have any. I had one asked if they could ask questions of the candidates, and I said, by all means, send us your questions, and we'll get those to the candidates. So
I did want to, actually, could I just interject right there about that?
Who's that?
Oh,
Was that Chuck?
Yes,
Oh,
I think he's in.
he has an appointment for the executive session. So I told him to just come in around 10:30.
Okay.
Morning, Chuck.
Good morning, Chuck.
We've just got to the members' comment section of our public session. Do you have any comments? Oh, that's fine.
Tell us what a great job we're
No,
doing.
not at all. Just thought we'd check.
Have a comment. Chuck is amazing. The ARC. We're so thankful for him. And that is absolute truth.
I,
Go ahead.
as it relates to the BHA election, again, I've had some people say, what do you know about these candidates? And I honestly, I don't know them. When are we going to get something out or
Something
I
that-
actually wished I had asked you to have them come in to the session.
It's been on the website,
Yeah.
so they're on there. And
It's been on the website,
I did want to touch on that a little more, the executive on.
It's been up for a few weeks.
Things, but
but what about sending?
I've just done 2 Q&As.
Well, it was there, and then it was all. Was it on the
Compass?
latest compass?
There was a compass.
It's in the, all right, then I missed it.
I just
It's on
read
the
it.
website. It's not the easiest to find on the website, so we're going to make that a little.
You know, Doug, I come to think of it, I don't think it was in the last compass, so maybe we just make that, maybe we just keep that as a recurring item on the compasses.
Yeah.
And also, I don't think we should ignore that there are other Facebook sites where if you could get it out there,
Mhm.
you know, or get it
Do
in
that.
God saying, go here to look, you know, our candidates are,
Todd will put something
you
in.
know, but I also think just get something out to the BHI homeowners, sending something out to Bald Head Buddies, whatever, will direct them to where the information is.
Just not positively, because that's a lot.
Not positive.
That's a lot of vacationers.
But BHI homeowners.
Homeowners is fine.
Okay. Yeah, we'll look at that. The plan
That's
was
the thing
to.
that she can't get at because she's not a homeowner, so somebody has to put it out there for her. Kim,
Yeah, okay. Well, you do that. I should not do that.
I'll do it, but if we
Okay,
could
I'll
get something,
With you, and the plan was to continue to circulate the candidates with the questions. I think we talked about that a couple meetings ago, and this last compass was a holiday thing, so the next compass we'll do that.
I swear I just got some yesterday.
is that where it's gonna be?
Yeah, I think compass is because the salt notes, the next one will be in January. So
Right, so, yeah, I really think we need to start to get their faces out there and their information out there. And unfortunately, I don't think going to the BHA website, it's just not top of mind to people.
Sure, yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah, I mean, if we put it in the compass, we have a little blurbs there, and then we have the URL link to the website. And
Whatever,
That'll automatically.
whatever, but getting it in front of people, you gotta push it out there, you
Right.
know, in front of them. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so it's me now, no member comments. President's report. I don't have a lot this month. I was gonna speak a little bit about the IRC, but we've already covered that. Did want to touch on something all of you may not see, but I'm in here enough that I see it. Little by little, a lot of the clutter has disappeared. I don't know if you've toured around this building, but even, it's funny, I walked in, was it yesterday I walked in?
Mhm.
That once again, I noticed something was gone, something was different. Slowly but surely, Dora and Doug have brought this building. I think you probably have all forgotten stacks upon boxes and papers and.
Go up and on Chris and see there's no more files on top of the file.
I couldn't even walk up there anymore at one point, but in the last time I went up, I'm like, what has happened? I don't feel like the floor is gonna come through, the ceiling's gonna come through anymore.
Mhm.
And that's a real concern.
we need to get an engineering study on that, right, to make sure.
It's restoration.
Serious.
No, seriously, he
Right.
did come in.
Still working on whittling that down. We've made a pretty big impact.
I thought there was, it was not an insignificant concern to think that that ceiling could come through.
Right.
Madison has currently hit up over half of those filing cabinets up there and pulled everything that out of each lot file that's not necessary. She's pulled all the copies out to get it prepped for scanning in. So, I mean, we're literally half a filing cabinet stack lighter than we were when we started this.
Incredible.
Well, actually, so last year this was a matter of big discussion and getting bids for scanning companies at, $80,000 or something like that.
Yes.
And then we're told that, ultimately if we did it in-house, that we have to hire one other person. It might take years to do this. Do you have like a back of the napkin estimate of like how far along we are now?
Yeah, so where we're at right now is no matter what quote we do for outside help for that, what we want is we want to not have BHA members pay for product scanned that we no longer need. So that's what Madison's doing right now. She's pulling all of the stuff that's not needed out so that if we do go outside.
You mean like a brick or, I mean, I've opened a cabinet and I've found a brick.
It's hard to scan a brick.
Well, no, I just mean like, for
Don't make this
instance, each construction process has a draft, a preliminary and a final. And that's the best case scenario where the ARC hasn't said, hey, you need to come up with a new preliminary because this one's not, cutting it.
Right.
So she's going through at the end of it when new construction is all said and done and great. The only thing we really need is the final. So she's pulling that draft and that preliminary out. Now, if we had an outside source come in, they wouldn't know any better. They'd just scan all three of those and charge, $1 a
Had a
sheet.
good understanding of that. We did have
Yeah.
a good understanding of that. So that's good pre-work. What percentage do you think has gone digital thus far?
Everything since 23 has gone digital. We're getting it in as digital already. She's in the process of cutting all of that down to basically what we would need to scan for anything prior to 23. She's halfway through that cut down from where she's at right now, which I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but you should see the entire office is literally lined with, that's
big.
That's 1,000 out of, it's about 1,000 properties that she's scuffled through already.
So the pre-work is a big portion of that
Yeah.
job. The rest can just fly. So that's good.
Yeah.
What's going on with it? Do we have the files from up in the harbor?
Chris and I will be meeting with Mr. Biggs to look over what is necessary for us because some of that isn't ours. Some of it is, it's a giant room basically full of files.
I
So
know.
we're meeting with him. He has a decent amount of stuff on his schedule. So it's just a matter of waiting to see when we can meet him. We're looking next week or possibly the week after, just kind of catching him as soon as he comes off the boat, going up into that Chandler building and kind of see. We haven't seen it yet, so we want to see what we need, what that's going to look like time-wise, digest what's working, what we don't even need to touch.
That's from so early on. I am just concerned there might be, some, and Chuck would be another one that he could let you know some of what we have to keep and what we could just get rid of. I just want to be careful about getting rid of, I don't know, something that might have to do with a home from so early on that might be special to someone. We could.
And we want to be diligent about that. We want to be able to keep it, but at the same time, like you just remarked about how Doug and I have been cleaning out this place. We want to also make sure we're not bringing more stuff in.
No.
Clean out a year later. Yeah. So luckily, Doug, Chris, and I, and honestly, most of the staff share the same mentality of if we don't need it, it is literally weighing us down. So like we're trying to all keep that consistency of yes, we need this. We don't need it, but we're going to meet with Jerry next week or the week after, depending on his schedule to kind of start working on the Chandler building.
I think we do have a generalized retention policy. So
We do.
We are using that as a rule of thumb. But when you're dealing with, plans and literally, rolls and thick sets of plans in a file cabinet, it is an effort to go through and look at that and make sense of it and go, okay, well, they went through new build. So do we really want to keep the prelim and the final drawings? Probably not. And is the house turned over 3 times as an ownership and does it matter at this point? And so we're having to kind of work our way through that minutia upstairs. And it is time consuming, but at some point, probably next year, we'll kind of hit overdrive and then start scanning and getting things into a system. I was I honestly was not expecting it to be that engrossing with, you know, but once you open one of those file cabinets and see what you're dealing with, you're like, oh, wow, you know, and then the person doing it has to understand, looking
What
at the
they're-
files, you know, is that important or is it not? And so we had to they're doing a good job of trying to educate Madison on that too, so
That's
that we don't get rid of anything important.
Well, 3 years ago, that was a priority for me, and I know Paul felt the same way. And, you know, at that point, we were almost just like, can we just start from here forward doing this? You know, because that wasn't even happening.
But the answer last year, if you keep in mind, if we were to rewind a year and a half ago, the answer was pretty much every time we asked, the answer was, here are the 20 reasons why this is unfeasible to be done. And so I'm glad that we've removed those planks.
It's very much feasible. It's just a matter of we kind of sat down and just kind of weighed out our options, realizing that if we had outsourced come in here and do all of it, we were going to have members paying for things that didn't need to be scanned in. So we just worked on training Maddie, and that's part of her. I mean, when she's down running the front office on the days that Diana's off, she's down there with a box of like several files. She sifts through them, throws out what's needed for shred, and
She's doing a great job.
And like Doug said, it took a while for us to show her, you know, what this is important, this needs to stay, but she can flip through them really fast now because she's got that background.
That's a good use of time. Thank you for doing that. And even if you just do a couple times a week, it adds up. And
She's a resident multitasker. We have her on like, hey, while you're sitting here doing this, she wants to.
I love it.
Great with it.
So that's good. And then also if there's full plans or whatever, we can always have a place we can put some of those. And if homeowners want to come pick up their plans, maybe they can if you're getting rid of them. I don't know if that would be difficult or if they need them or.
Degree, it's a little bit kind of dicey in that way. I mean,
Okay.
I think actually Chuck could back me up on this. A lot of those plans are they built a house with that plan and they were welcome to have, like, that's their house, but those plans actually belong to the architect who made them. So for me to give it to someone else and then they could give it to their buddy who wants to go build that house, well, now you're basically stealing an architect's work.
The architects already have it, so throw them away. Okay.
It's a whole thing then.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Okay, so I just wanted to thank you guys for the decluttering, anti-hoarding, being just all around so much better in this building and taking care of it. You've got a new cleaning crew. It sounds like it's working out very efficient. And I was just like, do they change the air filters? We used to have one individual come in here and do that.
So we have a different company that's in charge of the air filters. Yes.
Is that our heating and air people?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure that's being problem. I had a question. Members always just, you never know what the question is going to be, but I love that I get the questions. And it's a positive thing, but I was asked about Christmas lights, and in my mind, I was thinking, gosh, I don't think we can have those or whatever.
Yeah, we can.
I picked up the phone, I called Dora, and she knew the answer, but I asked her to send me what the rules are and the bylaws, and she sent it to me, and it was very crisp, very clear, but then it was a little vague. So we put that on. Did she tell you about this? This is now on something for you guys to look at to change. They're allowed to be up a certain, Dora, I don't even have.
To January 15th.
Okay. And they can't be, my problem is people that live on I know it's not nesting season or whatever, but we talk about not liking the light pollution. So it's not something we want to push, but this year it's something we need to think about to make sure that people understand that doesn't mean we have twinkling bright lights on every back porch along the ocean. So if people ask you about it, yes, they are, but I hope they don't get used to it because we're going to change that up a little bit.
I went ahead and forwarded the language to Chris and told her to put it on her radar. So she's got it on her radar. Doug was knees deep into something else. And I was like, I'll bother him with this later.
Every once in a while, we have something that we've allowed that is probably something we need to clean up. Again, very, very vague. Again, lots of calls and comments about the good, hard work that our team members do here. There's not a day that goes by, and I'm not exaggerating, that I'm not hearing good news from our members about the good job being done here.
We had an appreciation luncheon. I
Oh,
forgot to mention
yeah, you
that.
did.
Yeah, we had a staff appreciation luncheon and it was wonderful that
It was amazing.
Came.
The food
And it
was
was fun.
delicious. The company was wonderful. It was basic.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing that.
Ann and I whipping things up.
Derek was there, Betty was there, myself and Doug and Dora and the rest of the staff were there.
Nice.
And just made this fabulous lunch. Everybody wanted recipes and she continued to the dressing or whatever. I think she documented.
Dressing was spectacular.
Everything was just amazing. The weather was beautiful. Of course, I was a few minutes late and slammed the door on my way in. I was so embarrassed. And
We determined our host had, I won't mention names, had the best back porch out of the community, I think.
oh,
Yeah, I agree. I want one.
Yeah.
that was lovely. I'd never leave that porch. So yes, thank you. Yeah. Something else in that.
Maybe it's already been done, but like sending some type of official thank you to Anne from the.
I think that's a fabulous idea. Can we get something written up? Oh, actually, I have some cute cards. If you want to write something up for me. Oh no, that's that's cool. Also, oh yeah, so lots of calls and comments. I got a text from someone, and that's why I knew the Compass had just come out, and she wanted to let me know it was the first time ever that she opened that and actually read it from start to finish. It was engaging, it was inviting, and it had meat and substance. From this particular person, that was the best comment I could have ever gotten. That reminds me, Teresa Bordeaux for finance. You need her.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So I'll keep that in mind. Another thing I've done, a lot of people are always like, so when's this? When's that? When's your parade? What's going on with this? I'm like, I'm sending people constantly a link to our calendar. It's easy to do. Cut, paste, will take you right to the calendar. We have the most up-to-date, Diane has made sure of this, up-to-date information on every island happening there is. You never have to look on your calendar or look around for dates ever, because all you got to do is open that link or send that link to friends. This is helpful getting people used to our website and engaging it more, and will also relieve us from having to answer a lot of easy questions that they can just look for themselves.
I have to say, I totally agree with you, but it's buried. From the standpoint that people don't normally frequent our website. So even something in the Compass, it's a standard link to, this is what's going on. You know, this last item that, this last edition that Kim put out, it was wonderful about all the events and everything. But again, including a link that says, stay up to date with island happenings. That's good. And link it to our calendar, because our calendar is
awesome.
Totally comprehensive of every organization.
So it's BHA, and then you hit events, and then the calendar's right under events. However, it really is easy to open that events up, cut and paste, and we'll do that on the Compass, just cut and paste so it's a click. And anyway, that's really all I have to say about that. And then everybody, I just wanted to let everyone know that it's Betty's birthday today.
Oh, yes. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Betty.
Happy birthday.
We love our Betty. Okay, so that's really it for me today, unless anyone has any questions for me. And no, you don't. Okay, is Chuck in this meeting or the next meeting?
This one.
Okay, all right. Does anybody have any questions before I adjourn?
Yes. Did Doris send out the link for the executive committee meeting? Because I don't know if I've got it.
I sent out an invitation, but I can send it out to you again. I'll
Okay,
send it out as soon as we shut down.
Thank you.
All right, so let's give 10 minutes or less. Stretch your legs, get a drink of water or tea or
Do you have to
coffee.
close me? Do you have to close?
And hit the restroom, and I will see y'all back in 10 or less. So it is Friday, November 21st, 10:15 a.m. I call this public session closed. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? All right, see y'all shortly on the different link.
Guys,
Okay.
in 10.
Bye, guys.